The final act of the DFB Pokal der Frauen first round, and we have saved the best for last. History being made in women's football, courtesy of a fixture packed full of potential. Third tier Borussia Dortmund make their debut in Germany's sole cup competition against none other than the double winners Bayern Munich. In the men's game, it's known as Der Klassiker. In the women's game, it is a classic David versus Goliath cup clash. We've got a record-breaking crowd at the Stadion Rote Erde, but who can rise to the occasion to book their ticket to the second round of the DFB Pokal? James Surrogate on the mic for a night of high expectations. Forget the glitz and glamour of the modern game. This is the grit and grassroots of knockout football, the purest and most merciless form of the beautiful game. And what a backdrop we've got for Borussia Dortmund's DFB Pokal der Frauen debut. A side that speak to the soul of football and the Ruhr region from which they hail. Here, football is more like a religion. Crowds are more like congregations, and stadiums like this are their place of worship. That's why it came as no surprise when the initial allocation of 10,000 tickets for tonight's clash sold out in record-breaking time. As a result, capacity raised to 15,755, a record for a women's game here in Dortmund, a special setting for a special game. A night for heroines and villains, drama and dreams, guts and glory. Two teams ready to duke it out for a ticket to the DFB Pokal second round. For Bayern, they are the double winners. They are the favourites, but this will be anything but a cakewalk. The Stadion Rote Erde packed to capacity on a night history is made. Two giants of German football meet for the first time in the women's game. For now, the team sheets are in, and I can tell you that Borussia Dortmund head coach Markus Högner making 3 changes to the side that beat Deutz 0-5, a result that has since been overturned due to an administrative error. There's a debate whether it's a 4 or 5 woman backline for the hosts, as Friederike Kemper slots into the defense, and Sophie Vogel comes in at left back, while Sarah Ito, the woman at the heart of the administrative error, partners Rita Schumacher in midfield. Was she registered or was she not? Dortmund have appealed their 3-0 win being turned into a 2-0 loss. The verdict awaited. And on a grand night like tonight, the women of Borussia Dortmund and Bayern Munich getting behind the campaign for Germany to host the Women's Euros 2029. Record title holders, the German national team in that competition. 8 titles in total. They can't quite get themselves organised behind the banner. But the fact is, the message loud and clear: Germany to host Euro 2029. Georgia Stanway, Paula Reimann, the 2 captains, Annalena Heidenreich, our referee this evening, backed up by Lea Brankamp, Christoph Michels, and her namesake Annalena Weiss on the sidelines. A look at the visitors lineup now. Head coach Jose Barkler making no less than 6 changes to the Bayern München side that beat Freiburg 4-0 last Tuesday. Julia Gwynn makes her first start since the knee injury that took her out of Euro 2025, while Magdalena Eriksson replaces Glodis Vigorstotir in the heart of defence. Elsewhere, Sarah Tsadrasil's knee ligament tear forces a change in midfield as Ariana Caruso comes in. Elsewhere, Alara, Pernilla Harder and Natalia Padilla-Bidas making her Bayern debut are the other fresh faces. Borussia Dortmund taking on Bayern München. DFB Pokal der Frauen debutants against double winners. But this is no ordinary third-tier side. The ruffians from the Ruhrpott looking to get one over their blue-blooded Bavarian counterparts. Borussia Dortmund looking to channel their inner David and cause an almighty upset in the first round of the DFB Pokal der Frauen. It is enough to give you goosebumps, and it all kicks off in a matter of minutes. It has been raining, it has been pouring, but I can guarantee you it will not be boring tonight. In the men's game, it's known as Der Klassiker. In the women's game, it's a classic David versus Goliath cup clash. Borussia Dortmund against Bayern Munich. DFB Pokal der Frauen debutants against the double winners. But can Bayern avoid an almighty upset as they begin the defence of their DFB Pokal crown? James Surrogate, your match commentator, and delighted to have the pleasure of your company for tonight's encounter at the Stadion Rote Erde. Record-breaking crowd, and Pernille Harder with the first chance of the game, snuffed out by Laura van der Laan. The first and will not be the last save she has to make tonight. Bayern threaten early. Dortmund will take confidence from surviving the first scare, but that is not the way they would have wanted to start this game. A matchup with huge traditional value, but a first in the women's game today. The hope is that this will be a fixture we see more often in the future. Borussia Dortmund, the underdogs from the third tier, the Regionalliga West, surviving the early shock to the system. Pernille Harder. Good bit of goalkeeping in the end from Laura van der Laan. Pernille Harder still searching for her first goal of the season. Alara on the run against Friederike Kemper. And you can see Borussia Dortmund are shaping up in more of a 5-4-1 formation than the 4-3-3 put on the team sheets. Markus Högner, the head coach, talking about the need for flexibility and variability tonight. They know they're going to be under the cosh for the majority of this game. And already Bayern mounting the pressure. Clara Bühl. Awkward bounce. Stanway can't squeeze the pass through. Now the chance to break for Dortmund in transition. Oh, terrible touch from Yasmin Yabez. Bit of a rush of blood to the head there for the Dortmund winger. But those are their moments. Can they seize upon them in transition? Vanessa Gilles with another raking pass to Clara Bühl. Bühl has two in the middle to aim for. Picks out Caroline Simon, edge of the area. Tidy cross, dangerous header. And another save for van der Laan. Ariana Caruso arriving with the little box-to-box run. One of the stars of the show for Italy at Euro 2025, and what a European Championships campaign they had in the summer. Tonight, Caruso benefiting. It's horrible to put it that way, actually, but benefiting from the injury to Zara Tadrazil. We wish her a speedy and successful recovery. The Austrian international picking up a knee ligament tear in the win against Freiburg. Mahmutovic's pass goes astray, picked up by Steenwijk. Unfortunately, can't turn it into anything, the home side. Some loose first touches from those in black and yellow. They need to tighten things up. They want to gain a purchase in this game. Markus Högner, the head coach, talking about the fact that it has to be a perfect day for Dortmund if they want to pull off what many believe is the impossible. And yet they'll have looked at a game like the one Bayern had against Karl Zeiss Jena on home soil, a 0-0 draw against a side that were bottom of the table coming into that match. Heavy favourites to be relegated from the Frauen Bundesliga this season. And Dortmund would have seen that game and thought, well, hold on, if they can hold Bayern, then maybe we can as well. Hadia Bidas trying to use her pace to good effect. making her Bayern debut, a long-awaited one for Natalia Padilla-Bidas, player who joined the club back in 2023. Loan spells with Köln and Sevilla, though. Now she's back on the books with Bayern, hoping to capitalise on a first start. As Caruso just holding onto the ball a little too long there. Pocket picked by Yasu Vern. The name Borussia Dortmund has a reputation that comes with it in German and world football. 2 Champions League finals, they've won the Bundesliga 3 times, 3 DFB Pokal titles since the turn of the century alone. But when it comes to the women's game, the club still in its infancy. They are giants of the Ruhrpott region. The club only founded in inception in 2020. Their first competitive season was the 2021-22 campaign, and they made the admirable decision, the humble decision, of starting in the 7th tier of German women's football. Unlike other big-name teams that decided to start a little higher up the pyramid, they decided to really work their way up, organically. And yes, they have capabilities that teams around them don't. It's why they have won promotion every single season that they've played in. Started in the Kreisliga, then the Bezirksliga, then the Landesliga, and last season the Westfalenliga. Champions on every occasion. And now a Clara Bühl corner. Watch out for Vanessa Gilles. Those who love to combine in these situations. Oh, it's a dangerous dip of the ball right into the danger area. Bühl will get another bite at the apple. Decides to drive a little further wide. So wonderfully gifted with both feet, Clara Bühl. Many a head coach has referred to her as one of the best 2-footed players that they've ever worked with. German national team head coach Christian Wuck, chief amongst them. Pernille Harder with the golden opportunity inside a minute here. That's a teasing ball, and Eriksson's in a little trouble here in the foot race. She just about gets the positioning right to find Stanway under pressure. Under pressure again, though, gives it away. Steenwijk playing the ball into feet for the captain, Paula Reimann. And a few moments now that have got the home crowd at the Stadion Rote Erde buoyed. A record-breaking attendance for a women's game here in Dortmund. 15,755 after the original capacity of 10,000 was raised after the tickets were sold in record-breaking time. It is just further acknowledgement, appreciation, attention being drawn to the women's game that it deserves here. Bühl into the penalty area, but again dealt with. And it was the Dortmund fans that drove the idea of the women's team. Several years went by where it was being brought up at AGMs. And finally the fans were listened to. The club deciding to venture into the women's game. Svenja Schlenker, the head of women's football, was given the task of basically building the team from the ground up. And as she pointed out, this is the biggest match in the young history of Borussia Dortmund in the women's game. A highlight moment, but one that they want to enjoy and seize upon as Bühl and Harder combine. Clara Bühl, lovely footwork, but didn't quite get the shot she was looking for in the end. Sent wide. Eriksen wins the ball, but just in that moment in terms of the build-up play from Borussia Dortmund, that's where you can tell they're not quite your ordinary third-tier side. But this might be the biggest match in the club's young history, as their head of women's football, Svenja Schlenker, pointed out. But it's also the biggest test of where this side are right now, because I think it's fair to say everyone expects them to not breeze through the third tier, but have a pretty comfortable time of finishing near the top of the table, if not at the top of the pile. And of course, that doesn't automatically lead to promotion. The Regionalliga is broken down regionally. They are in the West Division, Dortmund, and they have to take on the other regional champions in a promotion playoff tournament. Bühl again has the ball just taken off her toes. Strong challenge from Steenwijk. Eriksen penalised for the foul. Marcus Högner, Jose Barkala there. Barkala making his DFB Pokal debut. Marcus Högner, the man who joined from SGS Essen in the summer, twice guided that side to the DFB Pokal der Frauen final. A remarkable record. A big loss for SGS Essen. He had done remarkable work there. He was their Rekordtrainer, as they say, their record-breaking head coach. Over 300 games in all competitions. And now the palm stung by Bühl. Another save for Van der Laan. They're racking up the chances now, Bayern. And already the Dortmund keeper proving very busy indeed. So far, though, equal to all the efforts. Gilles to Stanway. Back to Vanessa Gilles. 3 goals in 5 games for the Canadian gold medalist winning Olympian. Oh, lovely burst of pace by Padilla Bidas, just overrun at a touch. Credit to the Borussia Dortmund goalkeeper Laura van der Laan. She really is stepping up for the cause in the early stages. That wasn't the most convincing save. As we get a look at the referee's perspective on the ref cam. Nice little innovation here in the DFB Pokal der Frauen. Taking in this wonderful competition from all angles. Tonight, knockout football for the purists. Dortmund and Bayern, 2 giants of German football, but in the women's game, this is a clash of giants and minnows. Got a wonderful backdrop, wonderful atmosphere, bit of colour, bit of vibrance, vigorous support as well. It is the red and white of Bayern against the black and yellow of Dortmund. Bayern trying to turn the screw in these early exchanges. A flurry of chances so far, but no goals to show for it. Foul throw given against Caroline Simon, one of the most experienced women active in the game right now. She talked about the fact that when you win a title like the DFB Pokal, as Bayern did last season, clinching a first ever historic domestic double, she says then ultimately it is the demand that you win every game following. She said, of course, beyond the demands, it's still the dream of these players to win the DFB Pokal title again and defend it. As a result, she underlined that Bayern are taking the task at hand against Dortmund incredibly seriously, given the incredible progress they've made. Said it was impossible not to take notice of the way Dortmund have come on strong, with the rising expectations surrounding the club as well. Quarter of an hour played. Bayern certainly looking the likelier to break the deadlock, given the fact that Dortmund haven't had a shot on goal so far. Laura van der Laan has had to make 3 good saves. Might be caught into action again here. Harder with the header. Can't turn it on target. Incredible turnout for tonight's game. A capacity crowd of over 15,000. A record-breaking attendance for a women's game here in Dortmund. A special setting for a special game, and we're hoping for a special 90 minutes. Right now, truth be told, Bayern are underlining their status as favourites, and yet Borussia Dortmund are taking the fight to them, and that's the best we can hope for tonight. The football gods will have to be very generous if Dortmund want to upset all the odds. But the DFB Pokal der Frauen is a competition that makes up its own rules, as the cliche goes. Stranger things have happened. We've only really had one upset in the first round this season, with Frauen Bundesliga side Nürnberg knocked out by second-tier Ingolstadt. Harder strikes, but charged down by Steenwijk. Pernilla Harder still looking for her best form since the thigh injury suffered at Euro 2025. Oh, finds Bühl, who turns the corner well. Darts past Kemper. Clara Bühl! Again, it's Laura van der Laan who comes out on top. She denied Harder, she's denied Bühl. It is a prerequisite of any performance against Bayern. Your goalkeeper has to be at their very best to stand any chance of taking all 3 points in a league game, or in tonight's context, knocking them out of the DFB Pokal at the first hurdle in their title defence. It really would be unprecedented. What Bayern really want to do is start putting a run of form together like Wolfsburg did before they took the title off them last season, with a helping hand from Hoffenheim, of course, who knocked them out of the competition. But for Wolfsburg, it was 52 straight wins in Germany's Soul Cup competition, 10 straight titles before Bayern emerged victorious last season. It was Hoffenheim who knocked out Wolfsburg with a 1-0 win, Eriletta Mehmeti with that moment of history. Bayern then knocked out Hoffenheim, came from 2-0 down, courtesy of a Pernilla Harder hat-trick, to book their ticket to the final, where they then went on to beat Werder Bremen in what was a pulsating game, a real wonderful advert for women's football here in Germany. Werder Bremen, the clear underdogs, gave a good account of themselves, but truth be told, Bayern's quality shone through in a 4-2 win. And the post-match celebrations, the celebrations of the double, the trip to Marienplatz to take to the town hall balcony. If I'm not mistaken, Maroon 5's She Will Be Loved got a revamp in the German charts after a few renditions from that woman, Caroline Simon, who was on the karaoke mic and manning the speaker and the celebrations. Nothing to celebrate so far, though, for Bayern, maybe from this Simon corner. Drilled in, and woof, Reimann, the captain, didn't want to take any risks there at the near post, heads behind for another corner. Even in the heat of battle, Stanway, van der Laan with a cheeky grin. Simon again. Eriksson was there with the header, loops over. It's worth noting, I mean, look how close the advertising boards are to the pitch, and as a result, you can tell Caroline Simon doesn't really have the space to maybe have the run-up she normally looks for. Still, the deliveries have been good. That one goes long, and everyone made the run to the front post. Truth be told, even if they'd run to the back post, they probably wouldn't have got on the end of it. It was in 2014 and 2020 that Markus Högner guided Essen to the DFB Pokal der Frauen final. They lost on both occasions to Wolfsburg. Bayern, two-time winners of this competition, having won it last season. 2012 was the other time that they got their hands on this particular piece of silverware. But that domestic double really was the crowning glory, the crowning. Oh, dear me, I'll hold the thoughts, because that was a terrible pass from Mahmutovic. Eriksson got it all wrong. Dortmund looking to pounce, and Mahmutovic with her first save of the game. A self-inflicted wound almost there from Bayern. Annika Endeler with the effort from range. Might have crept in that near post, you never know. Mahmutovic couldn't take the chance. Harder on the turn, wins the 50-50. Now there's space for Bühl. Steenwijk dives in and gets the challenge right. And those are the moments that these fans are going to celebrate just as much as they would a goal. Given away cheaply, though. Steenwijk again has defending to do, helped out this time by Jabez, who gave the ball away to Harder in the first place. Harder in behind here, looking for a woman in red. Finds no one. Bayern just trying to settle after that hairy moment at the back. But again, a third-tier side, and look at this ambitious press from Borussia Dortmund. Dana Marquardt close to taking it away from Stanway. They've got to be careful of pressing too high up the pitch, though, and leaving too much space for Bayern to exploit, because all it takes is maybe one or two passes to break the lines, and Dortmund could be at panic stations. As a result, you can see Stanway dropping in between the two centre-backs to link the play. Now given away, Steenwijk, right place, right time for the interception. And this is it, you can tell Bayern have more quality. But Dortmund are really giving as good as they've got. There you can see some big names in attendance. Carsten Kramer on the left of your screen, he's the chairman. Hans-Joachim Watzke has Joe Bellingham sat next to him. Joe Bellingham, nice to see him taking in a women's game here in Dortmund at the Stadion Rote Erde, next to Hans-Joachim Watzke, who is the CEO of the club. And this is it, Carsten Kramer, the chairman, has underlined the fact that Borussia Dortmund are going to get the full support of the club in the women's department. The aim is to grow every season, in his words, as Harder has the flag go up against her. Van der Laan still made the save, though. Don't think it was offside, but of course, no use of video assistant refereeing technology. Harder was coming from an offside position, trying to get onside. I think she did it. Always one of those tougher calls, though, for the line's people. Now, Dortmund are doing well to win the ball from the Bayern players, what they're not doing a great job of so far, and this is easier said than done, of course, but it's retaining possession when they do win it. Markus Högner made the point that in a game like this, you need moments of calm, you need moments to catch your breath, resettle, reset. And right now they're being very reactive to the Bayern performance, which is all good and well in the initial exchanges. It's very difficult to do for a full 90 minutes. And yes, Borussia Dortmund are not your average third-tier side physically. They have more professional infrastructures in place than many of the teams that they compete against in the third tier, as they did in the 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th divisions of German women's football. Hence the rapid rise. But as Svenja Schlenker, the head of women's football, pointed out, from here on out it gets a little bit tougher. Yes, the board are expecting a quick climb. The ambition is to play in the Frauen-Bundesliga as soon as possible, in her words. Cheeky there from Alara, unnecessary as well from the youngster. Tonight in the DFB Pokal der Frauen, we get a little taste of Der Klassiker, but as Schlenker pointed out, it's a very different level that this game will be played at. What they want in the future is for this game to feature twice on the Frauen-Bundesliga fixture list every season. And I think both clubs would want that, given the stature of Borussia Dortmund. Bayern want a club with their reputation, their pull, their fan base to be in the top tier. Oh, brilliant play. In midfield, Zara Ito. Lovely footwork. Harder pleads her innocence, but yeah, she completely took out Zara Ito. And the referee, look at the view she had of this incident. The footwork from the Japanese midfielder, delightful. Oh, loose pass, and Alara's onto it in a flash. Alara to open the scoring straight at Van der Laan. Caruso strikes and Laan again saves, and this time Harder pounces. Bayern had the lead they've been pushing for. Laura Van der Laan had been keeping everything out. The double save couldn't be turned into a triple. And Pernilla Harder has her first goal of the new season to put the double winners in front against the DFB Pokal debutants. Zara Ito, who we were just praising for her footwork in midfield, ultimately giving the ball away. Van der Laan equal to the efforts from Alara and Caruso, but Pernilla Harder, right place, right time to make it count. And Van der Laan's heroics finally foiled. Magnificent view of all the action here, and the final finish as well. Harder getting there just a touch ahead of Kemper. And Bayern have the goal that, truth be told, their dominance deserves. A goal that had been coming, and it's delivered by their top goal scorer from last season, Pernilla Harder. And now a real test for Borussia Dortmund, one they probably expected to face, but how do they respond to the adversity? Bayern were always going to have more of the ball. They were going to carve out chances. They found the clinical touch now thanks to one of their most clinical players, but did Borussia Dortmund muster up a fight back? The last thing they'll want to do on a night like tonight, given the context of this game, the historic first ever in the women's game between these two institutions of German football. They certainly won't want to collapse and come away ruining what has been a special night for them so far. And even despite defeat tonight, can still be a special night. The reaction from the fans in attendance at the live draw for the first round really was exceptional. The excitement was palpable immediately. The disbelief almost that Dortmund and Bayern were drawn against each other, because this is Borussia Dortmund's first ever time in the DFB Pokal der Frauen. They got here courtesy of a 3-1 win against Borussia Dortmund in the qualifiers. Harder looked to be offside there, but they passed too long anyway from Simon. That game against Borussia Mönchengladbach was played in front of 3,500 fans. Goals on that occasion were from Ronja Leubner, Annika Endeler and Dana Marquardt. Well, the opening goal has certainly done nothing to silence the home crowd. Not that you would have expected to. They'll have come here with a sense of realism. But the fact is, they are here to back their women to the hilt. Clara Bühl backing down Steenwijk. Ball into the box, all pings around. There was a hint of handball about it, but waved away by the referee. Anna-Lena Heidenreich. It does feel cruel on Laura van der Laan that in that last moment her backline were not there to provide some of the saving graces that she had already in this game. But Bayern had been racking up the chances. The goal felt inevitable. Simon goes back to Clara Bühl. And this is where Bayern's experience really will show as well, in the way they managed this game from here on out. But they'll look for more goals, and they get one here. Pernille Harder doubles her tally. And either side of the half-hour mark, Bayern have now really seized the initiative in this first-round cup tie. Pernille Harder, one of the stars of the show that Dortmund were going to have to keep quiet. The first finish, a poacher's won the second. Phenomenal. Lovely touch to take it past her marker, and then a rocket into the near corner. Hadn't scored a competitive goal before tonight. Now she gets two in quick succession. Welcome to the goal-scoring ranks of the new season, Pernille Harder. Not the cleanest challenge you've ever seen from Ariana Caruso there. Lost the ball, and then just left out a leg to take out Marquardt. Teased in, it's dangerous as well, and Reimann, the captain, was closest to getting on the end of it, but the offside flag was up on this near side anyway. Harder sees the run of Alara all the way through to the Dortmund goalkeeper, though. Oh, Harder. There was a nice little pocket of space for Simon in behind there, but the pass not played by Pernilla Harder. Caruso now, with Dortmund collapsing their line, spreads the play out wide. That's a teasing ball to Gvin. Julia Gvin. Cross picked off. But again, Dortmund clear their line straight to Bayern again. They need to try and find their moments, but again, that is so much easier said than done. Steenwijk. For so many of these Borussia Dortmund players, this is their highest caliber of opposition they've ever faced. A very steep learning curve. Bayern aren't exactly going to show mercy along the way, are they? And yes, Bayern will recognise that Dortmund have a few players in their ranks with Frauen Bundesliga experience in the past. Markus Högner even talked about it, the fact that this project is so promising that many players that were being scouted by teams higher up the German women's football pyramid ultimately decided to join Dortmund. There was the pretty strong rumour at one point linking Alex Popp of Wolfsburg, the German women's football legend, to a move to her favourite club. It might still happen, that dream might still come true, it just didn't this summer. Maybe with promotion to the second tier, that dream can be revived again, because it's clear Alexandra Popp would love to play for Borussia Dortmund, having grown up in the Ruhr region, born in Witten. A Dortmund fan growing up. But you look at the likes of Rita Schumacher, Friederike Kemper, Annika Endeler. Have all plied their trade at the highest level of German women's football. And all of them of the belief that they can help Dortmund reach the promised land for the first ever time. Clara Bühl. Better safe than sorry approach there from Magdalena Eriksson. Plenty of Bayern fans have made the trip north to the Ruhrpott region for this game at the Stadion Rote Erde, which is right in the shadow of the Signal Iduna Park. Markus Högner, the Dortmund head coach, asked whether he was disappointed that it wasn't that venue for this game. He said, well, it would have been lovely, but I don't think we would have been quite ready for that. Here come Dortmund with a rare chance to break forward. And they're a lack of quality shooting themselves in the foot. Oh, lovely touch from Harder. And from Bühl. They're on the march here, Bayern. Dortmund a little stretched. And Bühl losing out there against Steenwijk. She's making some good challenges. Jenske Steenwijk. Padilla Bidas, she'd love to have a highlight moment in her Bayern debut. The battle rages on at the heart of the park. Zara Ito, again under pressure, again does well just to wriggle free momentarily, but the outlet pass straight to the feet of Gilles. And she plays in. Padilla Bidas, who clips the post with the effort. On her Bayern debut, how she'd love to get a goal, and ever so close she came there. I think she was maybe making the point that it got a touch off a Dortmund player, which would suggest she was going for the cross more than the shot there. Natalia Padilla Bidas, 2 goals in 18 appearances on loan with Köln, but 11 goals in 29 for Sevilla last season. 8 of those 11 goals being scored in the calendar year of 2025, but she's had to be patient in waiting for her first appearance as a Bayern player. Many wondered why it didn't come in the games against Leipzig or Freiburg. But her debut appearance sees her thrust into the starting lineup. Steenwijk tried to stay touch tight to Boo there and went clattering into her, and Boo stood her ground and asked the question of the referee as to why that maybe wasn't penalised. Cheeky ball over the top, looking for Endler. Nice idea from Rita Schumacher there. But the verticality of the pass was always going to favour Mahmutovic. Bull to Alara, shaping the shot, and just wide from Alara. That's a couple times now that Bayern have come close to a third. I think Dortmund could do with the half-time break now just to catch their breath after what has been a very intense first half, being played at a level that they are not used to and have never played at before. Because their records are remarkable, make no mistake, but they have slowly made their way up from the 7th tier to the 3rd tier now. As a result, they've never actually lost here on home soil. They've never drawn a blank here on home soil. You look at their goal-scoring records from the last 4 seasons. They scored 143 goals in the Kreisliga. They did it again, 143 in the Bezirksliga, 124 in the Landesliga, and 115 last season in the Westfalenliga. They are so used to being a cut above their opponents, and now their opponents are a cut above them. Worth pointing out, there's nothing to be ashamed of from Dortmund's perspective. 2-0 down to a Pernilla Harder brace here on home soil against Bayern München, the 3-time defending Frauen-Bundesliga champions, the double winners from last season. Dortmund are not here just making up the numbers, there's no doubt about that. Well cut out the pass from Alara there at the back. Tug on the shirt of Steenwijk. So it tells me we'll have a few kit swaps come the end of the game, but they've got to wait until then. One minute of time added on at the end of this gripping first half. Lofted forward, a rare moment to get the ball in the Bayern box, but it's straight into the gloves of Ina Mahmutovic, who, under Jose Barcola, has been named the new #1 for Bayern, taking over from Marle Gross. She has really come on leaps and bounds, Ina Mahmutovic, since joining Bayern from relegated Duisburg. A few teething problems at the beginning where she had to get used to playing the ball at her feet a little more often. Now Buhl finding Simon, pokes it towards goal. Was there a hand in the mix there? Anna-Lena Heidenreich decides not to point to the spot. Caroline Simon sharing a few words and opinions with the referee. Did look like there was something in this, but you could make the argument there that Yasu Vern, the hand that touched the ball, was coming across her body, and so as a result the body might have blocked the ball anyway. Not a big moment to change the complexion of this game though. Well, in a battle of DFB Pokal der Frauen debutants against the double winners from last season, the favourites are on top. Pernilla Harder getting her first goals of the new season, bagging a brace either side of the half-hour mark to put Bayern firmly in control of this DFB Pokal der Frauen first-round tie as they look to begin their title defence. At the break, it's Borussia Dortmund 0, Bayern München 2.
Im Nordosten des Stadions auf dem östlichen Nebenfeld befindet sich südlich der Helmut-Körnig-Halle, das hier über Block 13 und 14 erreicht. Und es gibt noch eine Frauentoilette im Signal Iduna Park, die genutzt werden kann. Die erreicht hier wirklich über die Westtribüne.
Hello and welcome back, one and all, to the Stadion Rote Erde in Dortmund. Tonight playing host to a highlight act in the first round of the DFB Pokal der Frauen. And this is the final act of the first round as well. And so far so good for the favourites in front of a record-breaking crowd here in Dortmund for a women's game. 15,755 fans in attendance. There's a strong Bayern contingent, and they've had more to cheer about so far. Their side leading by 2-0. Pernille Harder, after the thigh injury suffered against, or at Euro 2025, I should say, finally getting her first competitive goals of the new season. And having waited so long for one, two came along at once, either side of the half-hour mark. And as a result, the double winners from Bavaria find themselves in the driver's seat heading into this second half. And with the 2-0 lead, changes at the ready. Tuva Hansen, as you can see, ready to come off the bench. She was in fine form at the Oktoberfest recently. The Bayern women's side have twice made the trip to the 190th Oktoberfest already. Some social media videos that gave fans an insight into what an experience at an Oktoberfest table with Bayern's women might be like. And Tuva Hansen had a very interesting choice of eyewear. The goggles are still knocking about from the back end of last season. Wait to see who she has replaced. And I'm hearing that it's Magdalena Eriksson. So she'll slot in at centre-back, as opposed to in her more natural positions, either on the left or right wing of a back four. Magdalena Eriksson, wouldn't say she had her most convincing performance as a Bayern centre-back at the back, and a couple of foot races that she didn't look convincing in, and perhaps that's the reason that she has been brought off here at half-time. Tuva Hansen, approaching her 75th appearance for Bayern. She's never scored a goal for the Bavarians, the Norwegian international. Second half underway at the Stadion Rote Erde, a record-breaking crowd in what is proving to be a record-breaking season in German women's football. And tonight history made the first ever clash in the women's game between Borussia Dortmund and Bayern Munich. This is a fixture that has a great history, great tradition, great weight and reputation behind it in the men's game, where it is known as Der Klassiker, the classic. And that was the moniker that previously was given to matches between Bayern Munich and Borussia Mönchengladbach. But in the modern age, it's Dortmund and Bayern, the two powerhouses of German football, that get given that title. And we are getting a taste of Der Klassiker here in the first round of the German Women's Cup. Bayern the favourites, 2-0 up. Coming into the second half, Pernille Harder getting her first competitive goals of the season. Two coming along in quick succession to put Bayern in a commanding position here against the third-tier side from the Regionalliga West, whose goalkeeper, Laura van den Laan, produced a phenomenal first-half performance. Were it not for her, Bayern might have led by 3, 4 or 5. Unfortunately, her heroics were foiled eventually by Pernille Harder. Bayern's world-class quality coming to the fore as they wanted it to. They took this game very seriously. Dortmund, a team making a rapid rise through the German women's football pyramid. James Surrogate, your match commentator, delighted to have the pleasure of your company for this second half. Wait to see whether there might be a response from Borussia Dortmund on the score sheet. Very few chances mustered up so far from the home side, who have the backing of this incredible crowd. Surely enough to give them a push, but even a push not quite enough to close the deficit in quality on this world-class Bayern team. They are the #1 side in German women's football, there's no doubt about that. The domestic double just underlining that fact last season, as the club made history with their first ever league and cup double. They want to defend that title this season. Well, they want to defend both titles. Buhl with the cross, Harder on the move. Reimann Got to head to the ball, but Bayern will get a corner for their efforts here. Clara Bühl's corners, always capable of causing chaos. And Gilles attacks but doesn't get there. It pounces all the way through to Badia Bidas here. Two for company. He's gonna have to try and wriggle free. Unable to. Well, of Spanish descent, Natalia Badia Bidas, but she plays for the Polish national team. 22 years old, and she's already approaching a half-century of appearances, including 3 she made at Euro 2025, a goal scored against Pernille Harder's Denmark side. And a big moment for her tonight, Natalia Badia Bidas making her Bayern debut. One moment that caught the eye in the first half, otherwise not many chances to make the desired impact. Lovely touch there from Anne-Sophie Vogel, one of the 3 changes in the Dortmund lineup following their 3-0 win over Deutz 05. That was a win that would have taken them to the top of the Regionalliga West. They're on the front foot here, looking for a chance. Gilles with the touch. Not the most convincing piece of defending, but the loose ball straight to Julia Kvinn. Great to see her back on a football pitch after suffering that knee ligament injury. Not quite a full tear, but enough to provide a real scare for Julia Kvinn, given the fact that she has 2 nasty knee injuries behind her already in her career. Came off the bench in the win against her former club Freiburg. Now with a first start of the season, Julia Kvinn. And Dortmund have pushed up here. Chance for Bayern to get them back pedaling. Clara Bühl, one of the best in German women's football at doing just that. Harder can't squeeze the pass back to her. Lara thought about the snapshot and then thought better of it. Bühl once again drifting wide to try and stretch the Dortmund backline that does keep collapsing into a 5-woman backline instead of the 4 that was put on the team sheets before the game. Kvinn marauding forward, losing out. Truly magnificent support here at the Stadion Rote Erde, and they have not been silenced despite the 2-0 lead for Bayern. But as Carsten Kramer, the chairman, pointed out during a halftime interview with Sky Germany, Dortmund wanted to take the authentic approach to their rise through German women's football, and they wanted to be able to transport fans with them and take them along on the journey. And look at the turnout tonight. It's just proof of the fact that they made the right choices. It was a choice that raised a few eyebrows. Other bigger teams chose ultimately to get their license in German women's football straight in at the top tier or the second tier. Dortmund decided, let's do it in the 7th tier. Let's build our way up. An ambitious project, but they didn't feel the need to rush. And right now they're reaping the rewards. Cross comes in for Bayern, put behind, not for another corner, but out for a throw. But what many people feel is this is a little look into the future of German women's football, that Dortmund and Bayern will ultimately be competing at the highest level. If Dortmund in the next couple of seasons, they've got 2 more promotions from the 3rd tier to the 2nd and the 2nd to the 3rd. And if they can keep their track record of being promoted every season, they'll be in the Frauen-Bundesliga in no time. And then this fixture can start becoming a regular fixture of the German women's football calendar. Because while it is Der Klassiker in the men's game, if you look at the women's game, the big match every season is Bayern against Wolfsburg. And that's been the way for over a decade, well over a decade, truth be told. Eintracht Frankfurt have the aspirations of trying to break that duopoly. So do other clubs like Leipzig, who are a bit like Dortmund, building their way up, slowly but surely. But ultimately with a few more capabilities than some of the other teams in the top tier. We took a look at the Dortmund substitutes warming up, and unfortunately then you take a look at the Bayern ones and you see the complete difference in quality. Linda Dahlmann, Lena Oberdorf, all ready to come off the bench for Bayern. Not that they really need to dip into their quality, but Jose Barcola, in his debut season on the hot seat, has talked about the importance of managing squad minutes given the 14-team expansion in the Frauen Bundesliga and the extra fixtures that come as a result, and of course the desire to go deep in both the DFB Pokal der Frauen and the Women's Champions League. Endeler, battling well, finds a ball out wide. Cross comes in, hint of a handball in the control there from Rita Schumacher. Well won though by Reimann. Whenever Dortmund get in the Bayern half, they need to start making something of it, because so far it's been too little in that regard in the final third. Marquardt back. It goes now to Vogel. Only one in the middle to aim for with the cross. Can they get anything out of it here, Dortmund? A half chance, a corner. A sight of goal. It's well won back by Zara Ito. First chance the high press from Dortmund has actually paid off properly. And while for Borussia Dortmund this is their debut in the DFB Pokal der Frauen, this is the 30th campaign for Bayern. But as mentioned in the first half, they've only won it twice. Been to the final 5 times. Semi-finals in 8 of the last 9 seasons. Jose Barcola making his debut in the competition, on course for a winning one. Markus Högner, the new man on the Dortmund hot seat. He's got an ambitious 3-year plan. When asked where they would be in 3 years, he said, in the first Frauen Bundesliga. And he said he decided to take the step to Dortmund because he had the feeling that doing something different would do him good after such a long time with Essen, where he was the record-breaking head coach with the most appearances, the most successful head coach in Essen's history. And he did a remarkable job, Markus Högner, of balancing the expectations and also still providing the platform for young players to break through on, because that's what defines SGS Essen, another Ruhrpott side. Dortmund have higher ambitions than Essen do, but ultimately they want to grow in the same way. They want to foster young talent the same way that Essen do, which is why Markus Högner was seen as such the ideal candidate for the head coaching role. He himself admitted that his son Ben had a Dortmund kit from the age of 3, so there is a close connection to BVB. He did point out as well, Markus Högner, that the difference to SGS Essen isn't that great at Dortmund. Said that there's a good level in training, but of course there's a lack of experience by comparison. The big question tonight was whether Dortmund would sit back or find courage. And unfortunately, Bayern's quality is so great that they have been forced to sit back. And the moments that they have tried to break forward, they haven't had the quality to play their way through the Bayern lines. One pass will always go astray, most likely at the vital moment. Steenwijk there with the clearance, vertical, and unfortunately, Dana Marquardt is not having a good time of it against high-quality opposition. 9 goals in 5 appearances already this season in the Regionalliga West. You look at her Dortmund career, 17 appearances, 33 goals for the former Hamburg player. She could have been playing in the Bundesliga with Hamburg if she hadn't joined Dortmund, but again, that's the appeal of this Dortmund project. Dortmund currently sitting 6th in the Regionalliga West, and that is as a result of that win against Deutsch being overturned. Dortmund are appealing the decision, which is made based on an administrative error. Right now, the debate is to whether Zara Ito was properly registered for the game against Deutsch or not. If she was, then the 3-0 win for Dortmund will stand. Right now, though, it's been noted down as a 2-0 loss. Would be their second loss of the league season after a 4-3 defeat to Köln's reserve team. Set piece opportunity for Bayern to dig the dagger a little deeper. Reimann, the captain, with the clearance, and now the break might be on for Dortmund. Padilla Piras was really using all her pace to get back there, but now so too is James, and she's got Schumacher over. James! A moment to get the crowd fired up once again here at the Stadion Rote Erde, the best sight of goal that Dortmund have had all game. The first time they've been able to break on the counter. Simon didn't have the pace, James did. She really probably should have tried to pick out Schumacher. But with chances few and far between for Borussia Dortmund. A moment of promise, a source of hope. A corner now. Floated in and headed clear by the 2-goal scorer for Bayern, Pernilla Harder, doing the defensive duties there. Back into the mix from Steenwijk. Deflection on it, and well, Gilles was trying to wait for the goalkeeper to come and puts it behind for a corner. The inquisition goes on at the back. Mahmutovic had to come there, and Gilles was right. The young goalkeeper not quite on the same page as the more experienced defender there. Could this come back to bite Bayern? She made the call. She made the call, but Mahmutovic didn't heed it. Schumacher floating another one in. It's going to come to Ito, and on the half volley, mistimed the effort. And as a result, a relatively comfortable situation for Dortmund to deal with once again. But at least they are showing the courage to try and carve out chances now, the home side. Hefty collision, and there is cause for concern here. A substitution being indicated immediately here, and you can see there Clara Bühl and Caroline Simon. Oh, there's something's happened. Never nice in that situation. Wasn't quite the hefty collision. Steenwijk just trying to clear the ball and seems to have injured herself in the process. She's been one of Dortmund's more impressive performers tonight. Jenske Steenwijk. It's the last thing Marcus Högner needs is an injury to a key player. think changes were at the ready there for Dortmund, but they're having to change their approach now following the injury to Steenwijk. Perhaps a quick rethink when it comes to who is going to be coming off the bench now. Oh, shame that this is the way her night ends, given the fact that she had certainly been one of the better performers for Dortmund here tonight, both defensively and going forward. Jenske Steenwijk had her hands full with Clara Bühl, but had her moments in the Bayern half as well. Mia Berger now coming on for Steenwijk. Rita Schumacher making way as well. Ronja Leubner, the other one coming on. A moment that just took the rhythm out of this game that had been building in this second half. Again, mostly one-sided in Bayern's favour, but again, we had seen the response from Dortmund. A couple of half chances in quick succession. Is that the Bayern fans singing happy birthday to their head coach, Jose Barcola? Yesterday was his birthday. 44 years old now, the Spaniard. And making a good first impression as Bayern head coach. Big shoes to fill. Alexander Strauss and his golden era that delivered 3 league titles and the cup last season in the club's first ever domestic double. We brought in a real culture of success. As you can see there, Steenwijk is still really struggling to make her way back to the dugout. Such an innocuous moment as well. That's strange. Has she injured her hand? Is that... I just assumed it was something muscular with the legs and the way that she went to ground in that challenge and pulled up, but maybe it was the landing and the hand and the wrist and a more vulnerable joint. Hard hit as Endel now tries to take on Gwyn. Unsuccessfully, but throw into Dortmund. Hergner. The hunger, the intensity coming from the head. Oh, that looked like a terrible throw from Borgel, to be honest, but she gets away with it. Pass nicely dealt with in tight spaces there by Leubner. Not a pleasant sight if you're a Borussia Dortmund fan or player. Bayern readying a triple change, but maybe a chance for a triple here for Harder. She's denied by the offside flag. That might be a final action of this game. 2 goals already. Says it was tight, but then every striker will. How tight is the question? Well, not really, to be honest. She was well beyond the final woman there, Harder. Trying to time the run, not getting it right. Distinct lack of chances in this second half for Bayern, truth be told, because while we saw Laura van der Laan make a string of top saves in the first half to keep the scoreline respectable, she's barely been called into action since the restart, and now we've got a Bayern player that needs treatment out on the pitch. It's Vanessa Gilles, and the triple changes Naschenmeng, Schüller, Damjanovic, but maybe now Bayern and Barcola might have to rethink the substitution if there's been an injury in the mix here. Hence the weight on the sidelines, and it is indeed Vanessa Gilles. Needing a bit of treatment here, the Canadian. And that, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone watching, is the reaction to the announcement of the record-breaking crowd here at the Stadion Rote Erde. 15,755 fans in attendance. Sold-out crowd for the capacity tonight for the visit of Bayern Munich, the double winners, taking on the DFB Pokal debutants. This second half, I tell you what, it's been very evenly matched. If you took it in isolation, the action we've seen since the restart, you could make the argument that Dortmund wouldn't look out of place in the Frauen-Bundesliga. That's where they want to be in a couple of seasons' time. Sending well wishes to Jenske Steenwijk, making her way down the tunnel with that, looks like a potentially broken wrist or arm, which is horrible way for her night to end. But now we're going to get a quadruple change. It was a triple. Now they've added Lena Oberdorf to the mix here, Jose Barkala and Bayern. As if they needed more quality out there on the pitch. Vanessa Gilles, I'm assuming, will be making way now that she picked up a bit of a knock. The changes have been changed. Lea Schuller has been sent back to the bench. So it stays a triple change, but the Gilles injury has clearly forced a rethink. Naschenweng will probably be coming on for Caroline Simon at left back, and a like-for-like change. Maybe Harder makes way for Damjanovic. Lena Oberdorf. There is Caroline Simon that makes way. Clara Buhl is the one that comes off for Damjanovic. So I think what this means is that the back line for Bayern now looks like, from right back to left back, Julia Gwynn, Tuva Hansen, Lena Oberdorf, Katharina Naschenweng. A bit makeshift, but at 2-0 up, I guess you can afford that. Right now, Bayern's centre-back crisis worsens. Glodis Vigorstotier dropped out of the starting lineup to manage her workload. Stina Balasaya getting a rest as well tonight. But now Vanessa Gilles might have picked up a knock. And Magdalena Eriksson didn't look fully fit when she was on the pitch tonight either. For all the talent and depth that Bayern have in their ranks, that centre-back department is talented, but it's not the deepest. That's why Bayern ended up signing Michelle Ulbrich from Werder Bremen on loan in the second half of last season. She's probably gone back to Bremen because Bayern didn't want to retain her services long term. It was a plaster to paper over the cracks a little bit. Bayern unbeaten in all competitions in the last 10 matches since that 4-1 loss to Olympique Lyon, or OL Lyonnais as they are now called. The Women's Champions League record title holders, putting Bayern in their place. And it was a reality check again for Bayern at the highest level of the European game in women's football. Another example of the fact that they still have work to do to close the gap, and many thought that they were going to do that under Alexander Strauss. Now it's Jose Barkala's job, and he's talked about the fact that Bayern need to present themselves as Champions League winners at all times, and I'd say they did that in the first half. I don't think they've done that in the second half, but there's an element now with a 2-0 lead where they can take their foot off the pedal. They can manage this game to its fruition, and they don't need to force the issue. The double winners. If Dortmund can get a goal back in the next couple of minutes, we've got just under 20 of normal time remaining, then you never know. Stranger things have happened, not just in German women's football, but in the DFB Pokal der Frauen, Germany's sole cup competition. Last season it was in the first round that, excuse me, actually it was the second round, wasn't it? Because that's when Bayern entered the competition. Change of format this season, that's why we had the qualifying round, which Dortmund beat Gladbach 3-1 in. For Bayern last season, it was a 6-0 win against SC Sand, then a 2-1 win against Freiburg, followed by that after extra time victory against Eintracht Frankfurt. There's a chance here, cleared off the line for Dortmund. Katharina Naschenweng to the rescue, but the chance still alive here. Vogel can't pick out a teammate. Ito first at the loose ball. Endeler looking to curl one, but got the effort all wrong. And that is the end of the night for Friederike Kemper, the centre-back. Heda Wahler on in her place. See, this was a defensive header from Lena Oberdorf that Naschenbeng had to clear off the line, but definitely got there before the ball even started crossing it. Mahmutovic was stranded. Again, a moment that maybe Dortmund can just take a bit of confidence from. Because I don't think I'm mistaken in saying that they've had more goal-scoring chances in this second half than Bayern have had. It was a very different tale of the tape in the first half. Bayern racked up the chances. Laura van der Laan racked up the saves. Might be the time where it's worth pointing out that Bayern have a pretty strong defensive record so far this season. 4 straight clean sheets in the Frauen Bundesliga coming into this game. 362 minutes without conceding before the start of tonight. So 446 minutes, or 7 minutes now, and counting if I can do my quick math, since Janina Minge scored a penalty to make it 4-2 in the DFL Super Cup. Played in front of a 16,000 strong crowd in Karlsruhe. Then, of course, Bayern opened their season at the Allianz Arena. The domestic women's attendance record broken, smashed. Well, no, actually, not smashed, because it stood at 57,000, and it was 57,762 at the Allianz Arena on match day 1 to see Bayern grind out a 2-0 win against Bayer Leverkusen. Had to be patient and waiting for their opener there. Vanessa Gilles got the first goal. Clara Buhl got the second. They started on winning terms. And they had a blip on match day 3 against Karl Zeiss Jena, a goalless draw, where they racked up 28 chances but only had 5 on target. Now Padilla Bidas. Rare chance to break forward for Bayern. Alara picking up the pieces. Poor pass to Gwyn. Dortmund able to clear their lines. Naschenbeng under pressure from Jabez. Stanway. She got 3 assists in that 4-0 win against Freiburg, setting up Oberdorf, Schuler and Clara Buhl for goals. After the match, Jose Barkler saying it was the perfect game, but his side have to stay calm because there will be highs and lows to come over the course of the current campaign. That's poor from Dortmund. Those are the moments where they have let themselves down at times, and those are the steep learning curves that they have to accept in a game like this against Bayern. Harder now. Scored a hat-trick in the DFB Pokal semi-finals against Hoffenheim last season. Clipped in now for Padilla Bidas, bouncing around on the edge of the area, but it breaks for Mia Böhler. To go back to a quote from the head of women's football with Dortmund, Svenja Schlenker, who gave a wonderful interview with the club's website before this game, talking about the fact that the public interest was crazy. Said that we were in for a colourful night with the floodlights on, full stands. Is there a highlight moment in this for Dortmund? Because a goal back now wouldn't necessarily go down as a consolation effort. It might just be the lifeline they need to get back into it, but Markus Högner trying to G up the home crowd a little bit from his dugout. They need a goal, they need a moment to really spark life back into the Stadion Rote Erde. They're still in good voice, but they could be even more influential if they want to be. Wahler with the corner. It goes deep, too deep. Paula Reimann, the captain, doesn't want to give up on it. Good play, but all she does is give the ball away. Dortmund get it back though from the clearance. Are they going to have a moment to really enjoy some of the euphoria, the type of euphoria that can only be generated by the beautiful game of football? Knockout football for all the purists. Pride and prestige, legacy and legend at stake. It is a night for heroines and villains. Right now, the heroine is Pernille Harder. For Dortmund, Laura van der Laan, who just clattered into Natalia Padilla-Bidas. Neither player was pulling out of that 50-50. The Bayern debutante against Dortmund's shot stopper supreme. They rather took out each other, didn't they? Now for Padilla-Bidas, as we take a look at this from the ref cam, she took the knee of van der Laan right to the gut, to the chest, and I think had the wind knocked out of her as a result. For van der Laan, that can't have been a particularly pleasant experience for that right knee of hers. Again, she has been magnificent tonight. 2 goals conceded, but absolutely nothing to be ashamed of, because were it not for Laura van der Laan, Dortmund would be dead and buried already in this game, and they would have been dead and buried in the first half. Padilla-Bidas just apologetic there to the Dortmund goalkeeper. And again, for Dortmund, this would be their first ever defeat on home soil in the club's history. Since being founded back in 2020, it would also be the first time they've ever drawn a blank here on home soil and failed to get on the score sheet. And this is really concerning. It'd be a real shame if van der Laan cannot continue. Hopefully, she's just a bit shaken up by the clash. And I think that looks like the way it's going to be. But Högner, the last thing he would want is to lose his goalkeeper. Padilla-Bidas getting a little wipe down there from Jovana Damjanovic, who I'm sure, given the way she likes to approach a game of football, will love the battling qualities there from the Polish international. Full-blooded, get stuck in, put your body on the line. Yes, it'll hurt sometimes, but on others, you will be rewarded. Damjanovic has made a career of that with her bullying style of play. Someone that really just gets it at Bayern. The whole Mia San Mia vibe to life in Munich. That winning mentality, the desire to claim every title on offer. Bayern aware they still have a few steps to be taken to really punch amongst the elite in European football, but in German football they are the standard setters. They have knocked Wolfsburg firmly off their pedestal to claim that status, and right now it doesn't look like it's going to be one they relinquish anytime soon. They relinquish possession here with Dana Marquardt caught. Lena Oberdorf. Talk about no-nonsense defending. She really will leave her mark on a player, but as you can see there, she wins the ball. It's the follow-through that gets her, but that's what makes her such a fearsome player on the pitch, whether it be playing at centre-back as she is right now, as this makeshift Bayern backline holds their own. But in midfield, where her talents really are best served. The competition for places is so fierce in that Bayern midfield. A little less fierce now that Zara Tsadrazil, who was one of the first names on the team, she just picked up that nasty knee injury, and we do wish her a speedy recovery. But it might actually, the silver lining of that situation, make life easier for Jose Barcola in managing the minutes of his star midfielders. Because of course you've got Stanway, you've got Tsadrazil, you've got Caruso, you've got Oberdorf, you've got Alari, you've got Tanikawa, you've got Harder, who drops in there every now and again as well. Not to mention the likes of Linda Dahman, who sometimes pop up in midfield. Got Barbara Dunst will be making her way back from injury soon as well. One of the best midfield departments in world women's football. Now, Leah Schuller was meant to come on earlier in this game, but an injury to Vanessa Gilles forced a rethink. She is going to come on for what is the final just over 5 minutes, depending on when she enters the fray. Marcus Högner, a former head coach of hers at Essen. She was part of the SGS Essen side that went all the way to the DFB Pokal final, where they lost to Wolfsburg in 2020. That was before her move to Bayern, Leah Schuller. Annika Endeler waiting for the overlapping run from Fogel. Kvinn scampers across to cover. Takes out Fogel in the process, but a clean challenge. The Germany women's national team captain, Julia Kvinn. And one of her international teammates, Leah Schuller, now coming on for the 2-goal heroine tonight. Pernilla Harder not going to have a chance at another DFB Pokal der Frauen hat-trick. But Leah Schuller, who was the heroine in the final against Bremen last season, scoring a hat-trick in the final. She now comes on for the final, just under 5 minutes. Stanway, the latest Bayern player to leave her mark on an opposing player in the form of Yasmin Yabes. Still arguably the woman who had Dortmund's best chance in this game early on in the second half. Broke in behind from a tightish angle. Fired over. And this is a chance for Reimann. One good delivery could make a real impact here from the captain. Teasing it towards goal, and Naschenbeng was taking no chances. Plenty of movement, but the throw-in not forthcoming from Fogel. Yabes does well to turn. Finds the ball back to Fogel. Corner or a goal kick? It is the latter. Much more courageous, though, from Borussia Dortmund in the second half, and I'm sure that would have pleased the fans in attendance. Yes, a first home loss since the club was founded in 2020. The first time they've ever drawn a blank here on home soil since the club was founded in 2020. But those firsts were always going to come at some point, and when they were drawn against Bayern, there was a good chance they would happen tonight. But again, Dortmund have absolutely nothing to be ashamed of in this outing. They've given a really good account of themselves. They've kept things respectable. They've actually matched Bayern over the course of the second half in a way that they didn't really in the first, though you can maybe make the argument that Bayern, with the games coming thick and fast, have taken their foot off a pedal a touch. But as Caroline Simon said before this game, it's always nice to go back to the Oktoberfest on the back of a win, and Bayern's women are due one more visit before the 190th Oktoberfest closes its door, a special time every year in Munich. And the Bayern women's team have been enjoying their trips out in the traditional Dirndls. Worth pointing out that the men have made a few trips as well, so it's not just the women enjoying the festivities. A bit of cramp for Zara Ito in midfield, and she might be one of the two coming off, with two Dortmund players once again stripped off. Noreen Gunevig and Emilia Pauls, the 16-year-old, set to come on. Well, Pernilla Harder will understandably take the Player of the Match award. But a word for Laura van der Laan, because she was magnificent in the first half, especially. In the second half, truth be told, she's barely been called into action. And one of her busier nights at the office took a turn I'm sure she probably didn't expect, in the fact that it became a little easier in this second half. For Bayern, 452 minutes and counting without conceding a goal now. Next up for Bayern München as Zara Ito makes way. Put in a real shift in midfield, didn't she, as she comes off for Gunevig. Meanwhile, Yasmin Yabez replaced by Emilia Pauls. 16 years old, she made an appearance in that 3-1 win against Gladbach off the bench in the DFB Pokal der Frauen qualifiers. Now a highlight moment in the young stages of her career against Bayern. 5 minutes added on at the end of the 90. That seems very generous indeed, given the lack of stoppages. But the point I was going to make is for Bayern next up in the Frauen Bundesliga. It is a rerun of the DFB Pokal final from last season on home soil against Werder Bremen at the Bayern campus. After that, their first Women's Champions League phase match against Barcelona, in Barcelona no less. And that game comes right before the trip to Wolfsburg in what could be a season-defining match in the Frauen Bundesliga. So the games don't get any easier for Bayern. And when you look at the draw they got in the Women's Champions League, they have the aspiration of going deeper in that competition than they did last season, where they were knocked out in the quarterfinals by OL Lyonnais. But they got literally, statistically, the hardest possible league phase draw. 6 teams, and it's a murderer's row of teams they're going up against. Barcelona, Juventus, Arsenal, the Champions League title holders, Paris Saint-Germain, Atletico de Madrid, and then the team that really proved a thorn in their side last season, Vålerenga as well. Not easy in the inaugural league phase of the Women's Champions League for Bayern, but then if they want to go deep in that competition, if they want to win it at some stage in the near future, these are the types of teams they've got to sharpen their skills against. Oh, Damjanovic brought down, a bit of a clumsy challenge there. Vogel, one of the few things that she's done wrong tonight. Oh yeah, Damjanovic gave her a little bit of an elbow for her troubles as well. She's not the first and won't be the last to be on the receiving end of a moment like that from the combative player that is Jovana Damjanovic. Owns her own coffee brand and coffee shop in Munich, incidentally. I'll be honest, I haven't been along yet to have a brew. Maybe in the future, though. The Nine Fine Roastery, in case you were wondering, is the name of that cafe for Jovana Damjanovic. Free kick fizzed in and turned towards goal by the woman in question. Not the clean strike, though, and as a result, off target goes the effort. Very awkward height, truth be told, there to deal with that one for Damjanovic. I just wonder whether there might be some Bayern fans out there that are a little critical of this second half performance in the fact that their side didn't really force the issue. Not that it needed to be. The golfing class has been apparent tonight. Dortmund, the underdogs. The Davids unable to find that lucky punch. Or put that one stone in their slingshot to take out the Goliaths from Munich, who want one more goal. They might get it. Padilla Bidas just wide. Corner, and potentially the last real chance of the game here for Bayern to add a third and put a bit more gloss on a pretty comfortable and convincing victory. But again, I just wonder whether you look at the 90 minutes tonight and actually look at it and say, you know what, Bayern have won the match, they've put their ticket to the second round, but in many ways you could argue that Dortmund are the bigger winners tonight. They've drawn the attention, they've got the recognition, they've given a good account of themselves, they are putting in a performance to suggest that they will be in the Frauen Bundesliga sooner rather than later. And then when they get there, that they might not be that out of place. Markus Erkner, I have to say, I think is the perfect head coach for this time and this part of the Dortmund project. But tonight, a reality check. The double winners from last season, Bayern Munich, make a winning start to their title defence in the DFB Pokal der Frauen. In front of a record-breaking crowd of over 15,000 at the Stadion Rote Erde, der Klassiker comes to the women's game for the first ever time. But Pernilla Harder's brace, enough to book Bayern a ticket to the second round at Borussia Dortmund's expense. The DFB Pokal der Frauen debutants fall short against the double winners, but a magnificent night in Dortmund, a special night for a special game. Final score, Dortmund 0, Bayern 2. Well, as expected on paper, eventually, Bayern had to dig deep in the first half as they created a flurry of goal-scoring chances. And Laura van der Laan, that woman on your screen, the Dortmund goalkeeper, certainly the player of the match for the home side. Without her, it would have ended 4-5, maybe 6-0. She had a pretty quiet second half, though, when Bayern took their foot off the pedal. Dortmund came on strong, but couldn't get a goal that would have been a collector's item. But in the end, nothing to be ashamed of at the end of this DFB Pokal der Frauen debut for them. The first of many cup games to come in their future, and the first of many games against Bayern that will likely be in the future as well. Maybe this is a Frauen Bundesliga fixture in a couple of years' time. For now, James Surrogate, your match commentator, thank you for joining. It was a special night. Final score, Dortmund 0, Bayern 2.